You are listening to the Fight Report with Hanson Crafton, only on the Central Indiana Sports Report. Welcome, fight fans, back to the Central Indiana Sports Report for another edition of Hanson Crafton's Fight Report. Hanson, we do this podcast in 3 segments, and we usually start with a preview or a recap, but today we're going to do it a little differently, and we're going to start with some news, some big news in the, I don't know if you'd say fight world, but fight/entertainment world. How about that?
Yeah, I think we both thought it was going to be a joke.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but it's a done deal. We're going to get Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. That's December 9th. It's going to be on Netflix, and it's going to be in Miami. So it is a done deal. They do have some different rules here. It is going to be a professional fight, but it looks like it's only going to be 8 3-minute rounds.
Makes sense.
They will wear 10-ounce gloves, and Paul has put a weight stipulation on Joshua. Joshua cannot come in weighing more than 245 pounds. That's going to be the rule set, and I don't know if it means much. I was reading.
Those are reasonable rules.
Yeah, and I was reading Joshua's fights. He's never really came in too heavier than 245.
Right,
I think that's
exactly
some of the heaviest he gets.
Exactly.
So I don't know how much of a weight cut it'll put on. Now, I know he's older now. He's probably not in the shape he was when he first came up. Joshua is a dedicated guy. Say what you want about his skill set, but he is dedicated to the fight game. He does take it very serious. So I don't see the weight thing being an issue. 10-ounce gloves probably, I don't know if it helps Paul too much with somebody who could punch like Joshua. It may make a difference. It may not.
I would not think so. Can I say that if Anthony Joshua's, he's taking a big risk in this, because if he loses,
it's a huge risk.
It's an embarrassment. I'm sorry. And if Jake Paul wins this, we got to start thinking about him differently.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge risk. I'd go as far as say, even if Paul's a little competitive, I think it's a knock on Joshua. This is a guy who just fought Francis Ngannou in an exhibition, who was a UFC world champion. He fought Fury before he fought Joshua, and Joshua destroyed him. I think it was 2 rounds, knocked him down twice, and then knocked him out viciously. So it's one of those where it's very risky for Joshua. I know he's going to get paid a lot of money. That was basically the reason why he took the fight. It's a very risky. And then for Jake Paul, it's super risky because he may get knocked unconscious and have to deal with that the rest of his life. So it's a risky fight for both guys.
Yeah, probably even riskier for Jake Paul because it is kind of dangerous. Although he believes he's an elite fighter, and so he probably doesn't see it as a risk. And maybe he is. I don't think we've seen any proof that he's not a really good one, right?
The knock you can have on him is just his level of competition hasn't been anything at all. He's always had such the advantages in all his fights. He's either fighting guys. He fought a 60-something-year-old Mike Tyson who's 30-something years removed from his prime, or he fights guys that weigh 140, 150 pounds and fought in MMA. So he's always had all the advantages in all his fights, and this will be the first time where he really doesn't have the advantage. And he still does have the age gap. He's a younger guy, but he's going to fight a much bigger opponent here. So,
man, you get man muscle when you're an older guy in boxing. There's a different advantage to being old in boxing that Jake Paul is going to feel. Can't imagine that Anthony. That's why we kind of thought it was a joke, and I don't blame either one of them for doing it. I don't blame either one of. Yeah.
And Joshua's still not too far removed from his prime. Paul's usually fighting guys that's in their 40s, or he fought a 50-year-old Anderson Silva. He's going to fight a 30-something-year-old Joshua who's still got some tread left, at least you would think. I know he got knocked down his last fight with Du Bois, but he had some success in that fight against a guy.
That's the only issue, Hanson. You brought up Anthony Joshua's skill set. I think his skill set is probably worthy of being a champion, except for his jaw. And that's not really his fault, but that's the only thing that gives Jake Paul any chance in this. And I can't imagine he's going to get close enough, often enough to Anthony Joshua to knock him out. So there might be more ferocious punchers in the world than Anthony Joshua, but if there aren't many and not by much.
Right, exactly. You're talking about maybe a handful of guys that punch. They're better punchers than Anthony Joshua. I mean, he's got good distance management.
Yeah.
Joshua's always been a good fighter. Like we said, his only knock is really his chin. Sometimes he can get caught standing up a little too tall sometimes.
Yes.
But outside of that, he's very skillful and he's an extremely good puncher. A lot of his fights, he's always landed good punches. Even in this last fight against Du Bois, before he got knocked out, he hurt Du Bois. So he's a
Right.
good puncher and he still packs a big power. It's super dangerous for Jake Paul.
The only reason he's not world champion still to this day is because he's a huge target and doesn't have a great jaw. That's it. That's the only reason he's
Right.
not world champion right now.
Right. And when he fought Usyk just took advantage of his movement. He didn't ever throw himself into the fire, which Joshua does sometimes like to get in a firefight because he knows he's such a big puncher. It's exactly like you said. He's only not a world champion because of matchups. And I think the Du Bois fight, I think he just got kind of a little over anxious in there. Once he caught Du Bois, he went in and tried to go for the finish, and then his weak jaw kind of took one, and then that was the end
Punched
of that.
himself out.
So
Yep.
exactly, but he's still a very skillful fighter.
No doubt about it. Hanson will have all your news from the fight world every week on the Fight Report, so please join us. He will also talk about what just happened the week before and preview what's coming up either this coming weekend, in this case, or in the future. And that's what we're here to do, recap UFC 322. And Hanson, Islam is for real.
Yeah, that wrestling, he's got such a great base for it. And his stand-up didn't look bad. He didn't do anything that put himself in trouble. A lot of early leg kicks kind of wear Jack down. And he kept his range. I think he used his kick to find his range because it seemed like anytime Jack tried to get inside that range, Islam was able to just take him down. But the wrestling was on point. It just showed the levels, the difference in the skill level that he has amongst most of these other UFC fighters. He was trips, single legs, double legs, quick takedowns from the fence, be able to transition with the takedowns. It was a clinic. And then once he got him down, I think earlier in the fight, Jack was able to get up once or twice, but for the most part, once Islam got him down, he was down. And Jack did his best to not get submitted because Islam was going for finishes, but he couldn't do anything to get up. I mean, then you could tell it was just wearing on him as the fight went. And they say sometimes good wrestling will break guys, and it looked like in the later rounds of that fight that Jack was broke. I mean, it looked like he didn't have any answers, didn't know what to do once he got certain positions, and it basically was just like he was just surviving to not get finished out there.
He came in with a plan and he was able to execute it, right?
Oh, to a T. He did very little striking. His striking was basically to set up his wrestling. He just gauged his distance, was able to kick the legs, break him down a little bit. But yeah, his plan was to get that fight to the ground and keep it there, and he did. It was a total domination, just a really good performance. He was 4 for 4 on his takedowns. I know he had a trip in there. They don't really give him credit on that. And outside of that, he just controlled the fight from there. Once he got him down, he just kept him there. And there was really nothing that Jack could do about it. He just had to kind of sit there and I guess it was a moral victory to not get finished because he couldn't get to his feet and once he was on the feet, he really couldn't get any offense going because Islam's feints were keeping him on the edge too. If he didn't shoot, he made him think about it. So there was really nothing Jack could do the whole fight.
A lot of early finishes.
Oh man, it was great. I love when you get that in those cards because they start so late. Sometimes those pay-per-views, it's tough to kind of stay up for the main event. But when you get first round knockouts, second round knockouts, I mean, the card just moves fast. I think the only decisions on the main card were the two title fights.
Plus, everybody's there to see knockouts.
Exactly. That's what the fans want to see. It started with the prelim main event was Bo Nichols' return after getting beat by De Ritter. A lot of people wanted to see how he would respond. He looked great. He ended up getting a head kick knockout of Rodolfo Vieira. And he looked fantastic. He hurt him a few times on the feet and then took him out with a head kick. And then it just carried into the main card. I mean, the very first fight of the main card, you had a 14-second knockout. Saint Denis, he caught Benny. I think Dariush, he landed a couple leg kicks. to start the fight. One of them tripped up Saint Denis, and I think he kind of made a mistake and rushed in thinking he had something, and Saint Denis was able to catch him with I think it was a left hook right on the temple, and Benny just face planted into the mat. 14-second stoppage, and then you had Leon Edwards Carlos Paredes fight, and that got into the second round. And about a minute and a half into the second round, Paredes landed a beautiful straight left hand, knocked Leon Edwards out. And then it carried to the third fight, and you had Sean Brady and Michael Morales. I think that was probably the most surprising one. I think people kind of thought the first two fights could have went the way they went, maybe not as fast as they did. But I know that both of those guys were the favorites. Paredes was the favorite, so was Saint Denis. Now, the third fight with Sean Brady and Michael Morales, I don't think a lot of people saw Morales going in and dominating like he did. He's
No.
a big, big guy at 170 pounds. He kind of came in with a stance that he wasn't going to allow him to get the takedown. So he was a little lower in his stance, but he used his range great. He was jabbing, keeping Sean Brady away from him. Brady was trying to get in. That's usually how it's a fight. He's smaller for the division. Now, he's a stocky guy, but he's a little bit shorter for the division. So he has to get inside, especially for his wrestling to work. And he just wasn't able to get inside. He kept jabbing him, and then he landed a big overhand right, kind of stunned him, and then a beautiful uppercut underneath. And it just took him off his feet, and he finished him in the first round. I kind of could see it going that way. I know I did lean on Brady with the wrestling. Don't be surprised if Morales can take him out. I kind of pictured that fight as the Aaron Pico, LaRon Murphy fight, and it went kind of like that. Morales used his striking, which is his best trait, and he used it to defend the wrestling with his jab. And then when the openings were there, he took it and he hurt Brady and then took him out of there. And then it just three quick fights, and you were able to get to the title fights. Wale and Shevchenko was not the way I saw that one going. I didn't really. I guess that was one thing I didn't look at was the size advantage Valentina had, and not only the size advantage, her strength. And she was just able to outmuscle Wale the whole fight. And she was able to take her down, keep her to the ground like Islam, but not that dominant. Once she kind of got her to the ground, Wale didn't really have any answers. She couldn't get up. And then just a strength. They clinched on the feet. She was just able to kind of manhandle her and ragdoll her with her strength. So I really underestimated Valentina's size in that fight. Going into it, she did fight at 135 against some very top fighters and held her own there. I probably should have weighed on that a little bit more. But yeah, it was a quick card. It got to the two title fights, and then they were good fights, and it was a really good night. Honestly, it's a good card for the UFC.
Those are really the kind of cards you like to see. A lot of action, a lot of fast moving, not a lot of hugging.
Exactly. That's what the crowd wants to see. I can respect the wrestling, but you want to see the guys get in there and fight.
Right. Yeah, no issue with wrestling, no issue with jiu-jitsu, but it gets boring for fight fans when they're laying on the mat, nobody's moving.
Right. And yeah, when you got 25 minutes of it, it does kind of get a little stale.
That's right. But didn't have any of that on Saturday night.
That was a great card.
All right, Hanson, tell us about the boxing coming up this weekend.
It's a huge card, Saudi Arabia, the one I've been talking about. I've been waiting for this thing to get here. 4 big fights on there, and of the 4 fights, you've got 7 of the 8 guys are undefeated.
Wow.
4 title fights, so it's a loaded card. I guess we'll start with Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes. It's for the vacant WBO World Lightweight title. Mason coming in 19-0, Noakes coming in 17-0. Mason is just an exciting guy to watch. A lot of early finishes. His last few fights have been really exciting. He had the one fight a few fights ago with Emmanuel James where they both went down in the first round. Then he was able to stop him in the 4th round. But actually, Mason was down twice in the first round, and he got him down once in the first round and once in the second, and then was able to stop him. Mason he stopped all of his last. I think his whole career has been all stoppages. He's got 1 decision. So Mason's a really exciting guy, big time finisher. He's one of those guys that's really slick. Now he does have an issue. He's been down a lot, so he does have kind of a chin issue. But I think a couple of those he was really running in the shots, trying to get early finishes. So I think once he gets a little older and matures a little bit, he may not put himself in the danger um, that he does right now. That might be something he has to learn once he gets to these high level fights. You know, fighting undefeated guys like Sam Noakes, it's only going to get better from here on once you get a belt. So that'll be something he'll have to learn. But I see him winning this fight. I think he's a big favorite. Probably he's going to get a knockout, probably early knockout.
Mm.
But that's an exciting fight to start the card. You look at number 6 at lightweight versus number 10 at lightweight. Then you go into the Jesse Rodriguez, 22-0. He's fighting Fernando Martinez, 18-0. You
Oof.
got Jesse Rodriguez, the WBC, WBO super flyweight champ, and then Martinez is the number 4 ranked super flyweight. So that's a really good fight. Both of these guys, they're both undefeated. They both come to fight. I like these style of fighters. These are guys who like to finish fights as well. Rodriguez, he's coming off 3 finishes in a row in his last 3 fights. And then Martinez is also a guy who comes in the fight. He's had 3, 4 finishes in his last 5, 6 fights. So this is a really entertaining fight. I do see Jesse Rodriguez winning this fight. I think he's just a better fighter. Bam's a really good fighter. He's been on a roll lately. I think he will come in and get the job done. I don't know if it'll be early. His last fight, he didn't get the stoppage till late. It was a 10th round knockout. I could see something like that in this fight, probably a late round stoppage. But I do think Jesse Rodriguez will get the stop on this in this fight.
And that's
Two really good fighters.
yeah, it's WBC and WBA super flyweight. I don't know. I think you mentioned it, but Abdullah Mason and Sam Noakes, that's for the WBO lightweight title.
Yeah, it's vacant right now, so neither one of them are the champs. So that's up for grabs. So that's a really good fight. You know, Mason's coming in with a lot of momentum. I think that's who they want to win. Plus, he's a guy who's been willing to take fights. He's already said he wants to fight all the top guys. So be real interesting to see where he goes after he wins. I think Bam Rodriguez wins his fight. He's looked really good of late. Martinez is a really good fighter, ranked number 4 in the world right now. So that's a really fun fight. Then it leads right into probably one of the my second favorite fight on this card. Brian Norman Jr. against Devin Haney for the welterweight title, WBO
Big one.
welterweight title. That is a big fight. You know, Haney coming in. Say what you want about the Garcia fight. I'm a big believer that steroids in the fight game give somebody a super advantage. Garcia did test positive. I think it throws that fight out because
Sure.
I think steroids in boxing and UFC, that's just it's a huge advantage because you're able to train. Your body's not broke down by the time you get to the fight. You've been able to cut weight easier. You're not having to drain yourself like the other guys. And, it's making you stronger and faster, which in a fighting contact sport, that's a huge advantage. So, I know Haney got dropped, 3, 4 times in that fight. Didn't really look great at all. But, Garcia was a super version of himself. If they both fight clean, I don't think that fight goes that way. So I still look at Haney as an undefeated champion. So he's coming in. Now he's not a guy who does get a lot of finishes. He's got a lot of decisions on his record. And then Norman is a guy who has a lot of finishes. Norman's a guy who he's got a it's going to be interesting because when he fought Garcia, Garcia's biggest weapon was his left hook, and Norman Jr.'s biggest weapon is his left hook. And he's coming in off 3 straight knockouts. His last knockout was very vicious, a left-hand knockout over Jin Sasaki in the 5th round of their fight. Before that, he knocked out Derek Cuevas in the 3rd round. And before that, he knocked out Giovanni Santillan in the 10th round. So he can carry his power throughout the fight. He's a big time puncher. In all these fights, he's knocked the guys down multiple times. But styles make fights, and Haney's very good. They would say a track star. He's very good movement. He moves really well. He doesn't really throw himself into firefights. He picks his shots. He uses his jab really well. So it's a good style matchup here. Man, I'm halfway leaning towards Brian Norman Jr. I think he gets the upset. I actually think he might, as the lines are closing, I think he might have flipped him. He's actually a small favorite right now. I see Norman maybe being too much for Haney, but the style make fights, and I think Haney's style is built for big punchers when he fights them because he does. He's got a very good jab. He's great using his jab and with his distance, and he comes in good shape, so he's able to move. He's went up in weight. He doesn't have a big weight cut anymore, so he's going to be able to keep his endurance throughout these fights. And in his last fight, he showed that he moved the whole 12 rounds, was able to pick them apart. His jab is brilliant. That's probably his best weapon, but he'll really need to rely on that in this fight because Norman's got a huge left hand, and in the Haney Garcia fight, the left hand is what gave Haney the most trouble. So this is a super interesting fight. I'm really looking forward to it. A good co-main event leading into the main event, which is one of my favorite fighters, David Benavidez, who's also a lot of people's favorite fighter.
Yeah.
And it's going to be for the WBC World Light Heavyweight title. He's fighting Anthony Yarde. Benavidez is 30-0. Yarde is 27-3. He's a guy that, I don't want to say it's an easy fight for Benavidez, but it's a fight that he should win. But Benavidez has had a hard time getting fights, but he's been on a roll lately. He's beat everybody they put in front of him. Yarde has won. He is coming in on kind of a roll. He's won 4 straight. Now, he did get knocked out by Arthur Beterbiev when they fought, but that's no slouch. So Beterbiev is probably 2 or 3, one of the best fighters in the weight class. He had those 2 really good fights with Bivol. And so Beterbiev's, top of the class. So that's no knock to get knocked out by him, but it does show he can get knocked out. And Benavidez is a knockout guy. He's a guy who stops a lot of his opponents. He got great hand speed for the size. He does have power. Now he has came off a couple decisions since moving up in weight, but before that, I mean, this guy was on like a 5-fight knockout streak. Benavidez is a very fun guy to watch. He throws massive combinations. Sometimes he'll throw 6, 7, 8 punches in a combination. He's long, so he does have a little bit of snap on him. It's going to be a really fun fight. I thought his last fight with David Morrell was really good. He put a pace on Morrell, who was a bigger puncher of the two, and he just kind of wore him down and was able to take the unanimous decision. So that's a really fun fight. I look for Benavidez to. I think he'll stop him. I think it'll be later in the fight, but I think he will get the stoppage win here. I just think Benavidez is a better fighter. He's got more tools that he can work with. His distance is very good because he's a long guy, but he's also super fast and those punches and bunches, and they do hurt when he lands. So I look for David Benavidez to put on a pretty good performance, and maybe after this fight he'll finally get one of the big 3 to fight him with, either Bivol, Canelo, or Beterbiev. I know that's the fights he's been chasing. He's been wanting to try to unify all the belts at light heavyweight. He's just really had a hard time getting those fights. So maybe after a good performance here, he might be able to get one of the 3 to fight him. I know Bivol and Beterbiev may fight again. Who knows what Canelo's going to do. So he may have a little bit of a waiting game after this, but I think a good performance by Benavidez will finally get him one of those big fights.
And Hanson, it's known as the Night of Champions. It's on Saturday morning, right? From Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
I can't wait, man. I've really been looking forward to this card ever since they announced it. It's one of those cards that's loaded. You got 4 really good fights, 7 undefeated guys on there. So it's going to be entertaining the whole time. And I've been looking forward to this one for a while.
Real fast, let's recap, Hanson. Mason Noakes, you got Mason?
Yeah, I think Mason wins by stoppage.
Rodriguez and Martinez, you're taking Rodriguez, right?
I think Rodriguez wins. I want to say, I don't know if he'll stop him because Martinez is tough. If he does, it'll be later in the fight. But Martinez is a very tough guy, too.
And in the welterweight title is the one where you have the upset, right?
I think originally it would be upset, but last I checked, I saw something yesterday morning where I think Norman might be the favorite now. Styles make fights, and I think Norman, his style is going to give Haney trouble, but then again, Haney's style. So right now on DraftKings, it's -110, -110. So it's a dead even fight.
Wow, you don't see that very often.
No, this is one of those where it's really style make fights. I think Haney's style is good for big punchers because he does fight with his jab. He can, as they say, get on the bike and move around. And then Norman style is good for a guy who's susceptible to punches like Haney. He's got a big left hand. If he catches him with it, he can hurt him, and he can maybe steal the fight that way. So this is a really interesting fight. It's one of those styles make fights. It's the closest fight of the card. Rodriguez is a huge favorite. Abdullah Mason is a decent sized favorite, and Benavidez is a huge favorite. So it's the closest fight on there. I think Norman's going to surprise some people.
And of course, you have Benavidez. Where do you have him ranked in your ranking, regardless of class?
The pound for pound, I think Benavidez is probably top 6. Like I said, I really want to see him fight somebody like Bivol. I think he's a better fighter than Bivol. I think Beterbiev would have probably been his biggest challenge if he would have fought him earlier. But Beterbiev is he's getting older. He's been in a lot of fights. He's kind of on the downslope. I think Bivol's in the middle of his prime right now. I think Canelo's also a little on the downslope. So I think Benavidez is probably better than all those guys. Bivol's really the only one who I'm really interested to see him fight. But I'm a huge David Benavidez fan. I really like his style. I really like the way he fights, and I think his skill set's really good for just his size of guy. Like I said, he's a big guy, and he throws just lightning combinations. He's one of my favorites, and I think he's very good, which is the reason why I have him ranked pretty high on the pound-for-pound list.
Hanson Crafton, thank you so much for your time. Let's do it again next week.
All righty.
And thank you so much for listening. Please do us a huge favor if you enjoy this podcast, and if you're still listening, we assume that you do. Please share this podcast with a fight fan in your life and help us spread the word that we're talking about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about every single day. Thanks again, Hanson.
Thank you. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.